Hello and welcome to another episode of Impact Dog Conversation, a platform where we explore bold ideas, transformative leadership, and the social impact leaders building a better future across Africa and beyond. I'm your host, Benita Ezumezu, and today's conversation is one I'm really personally excited about because we'll be exploring impact leadership, system change, social entrepreneurship, and innovation, as well as why Africa's future may actually very well depend on community builders and social entrepreneurs. Our guest today is Ikenna, who works closely with some of the continent's most impactful change makers through Ashoka. So I'll give my guest the opportunity to actually introduce himself. So let's meet you, sir.
Hi, Benita. My name is Ikenna Anyadike, and I would call myself a change maker and also a change maker.
Wow.
The
Okay,
reason is
impressive.
this: I am the venture and fellowship manager for Ashoka's work in Anglophone West Africa, covering Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, and Liberia.
Wow.
I joined the organization shortly after COVID, and I'm going on 5 years currently, and I have been privileged to bring on board about 30 new fellows since taking over the role that I currently occupy within the organization. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, that was a very impact. I like the fact that you are an impact maker and impact makers maker. Thank you very much. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I always believe that most of our impactful work actually begins with a very deeply personal journey. And then for us at Impact Doc, we always start our conversation with this very important question: what is your social impact story? Why are you doing this and not something else? So we want to walk through your social impact journey with you. We want you to tell us if there was any specific spark or moment in your career or a turning point that actually led you to focus primarily on systems change. And then, was it a mistake? Was it an opportunity? How did your journey into social development actually start?
Well, the my journey is interesting, right? Started officially what I would say, I mean, when I had the trappings of it in 2010 during my service year. I had the privilege as a core member of, teaching in a secondary school, and so I set up an organization in that secondary school
Wow.
called, guess what? Yes, we can.
Wow.
It was obviously I borrowed it from the Obama campaign thing.
Oh, amazing.
But that was it for me. That was the thing that really seeded my journey.
Journey.
But when I was done with youth service, I came to Abuja, and that's in 2010. I set up a mentor platform, a mentorship and protege platform that I called You and I. It wasn't an officially registered anything. It was just, sort of me just going to secondary schools and sort of mentoring young people and all of that. But what I would say the birth year for my social entrepreneurship journey officially would be 2013. And since then, I have been privileged to, you know, pioneer certain things myself, build a team of supporters and volunteers, work in the space for a little bit. I've also been privileged to go on exchange fellowships based off of the work of, social entrepreneurship that I did, albeit at a small level. I was operating at a really small level, but joining Ashoka was, sort of that, that birthing into something that was a lot bigger, that than I was doing prior to that time.
Well, thank you very much. I think that's a very interesting one. Um, the idea that you just left school and you started something and started a mentorship. I think that's a very bold move that you took there. So, well, I'm interested. I'm interested in your social impact journey. But as we go through this, so I want us to talk more about your role in Ashoka.
Right.
And Ashoka has actually played a major role globally in identifying and supporting leading social impacts and innovators, impact leaders and innovators. So from your experience as a venture manager and venture leader in the Anglophone, both in West Africa, what qualities do you think distinguishes transformational leaders, transformational social entrepreneurs from regular founders or non-profit leaders?
That's a superb question. But before I dive into responding to that question, let me give a bit of a background to my role to help with context. My role as venture and fellowship manager is simply search and selection, right? The venture part of it is searching and selecting these system changing social entrepreneurs in Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, and Liberia. Then the fellowship component of it has to do with engagement, the work of engagement, programs, opportunities across all of our programmatic, deliveries. But back to your question, what we look out for is what we call the system changing new idea. The system changing new idea is, or rather, a system changing new idea is what differentiates an Ashoka quality social entrepreneur from someone who is doing regular philanthropic work. This is the reason I say that. A system changing new idea looks at a problem and tackles it from the root or the root
The
cause,
root cause.
such that given time and consistency, the root of the problem would have been strategically decimated to the point where the problem would, or any semblance of it, would cease to exist. On the other hand, this other type of philanthropic do-good model of, of social work is attacks more of the symptoms. It's more of a symptomatic approach. For instance, if there's headache in a human system, it means that there is a problem. The headache is a symptom. You can't go treating the headache or the fever. You have to look for what the actual root cause is. And so the regular philanthropy, whatever, a lot of people that jump into the NGO space just attack symptoms. And that's why over time, the problem persists, because the approach is symptomatic at best. But we look out for people who attack, the problem from the very root of it.
Well, thank you very much. So I think I like the idea where you were able to differentiate between charity or philanthropy and actual social entrepreneurship. So one thing that I personally have noticed is that people still confuse social entrepreneurship with charity or philanthropy. So when you hear social entrepreneurship, many people, of course, they think, oh, is it a charity or philanthropy? So from your work and experience, working closely with social entrepreneurs, innovators across multiple sectors, right? How has the definition evolved in Africa over the last decade? And then what exactly makes a social enterprise truly remarkable and impactful? And then it is community-centered, and then it is not just a business with a purpose.
So here's the thing. African founders within the space are realizing that the direct system model that has been used prior to recent times has particularly not given any advantage to those recipient or beneficiary communities. And here's the reason. Because the approach is symptomatic at best, it can only treat symptoms. It will never attack the root cause. Until the root cause of a wicked problem is attacked, the tree of the problem will remain standing.
Exactly.
You can take off the fruits of it.
But
there is a tree called the agbalumo tree. The agbalumo tree is a seasonal fruiting tree.
Yeah.
Every December, it's a dry season kind of fruit. every December, the tree fruits. You can harvest all of the fruits from the agbalumo tree. All through the year, it will look like there's nothing happening. But as long as that tree is still standing, by December of the next year, it will have a lot more fruits. And so
Yeah,
there's
very
a lot
true.
of symptomatic. So when you use that analogy and you put it as a problem, people who treat issues as though those issues were at best fruits, the tree will stand. The problem will still remain. But if you shift the model a little bit, which a lot more people are beginning to do, and I dare say it is because of ecosystem supporters, ecosystem founders, like the Impact Hub, for instance. The work that they are doing in the space, they are getting people, to see the problem as a tree that needs the roots to be strategically decimated. And so there are a lot more strategic, social entrepreneurship drives, particularly among young people, that going into things that are more strategic. And you see that over time, and with the ecosystem support of organizations that provide that bedrock for the work that they do, you will see that they would make a significant dent in their communities and in the problems that they are solving. So you now see that there's a shift.
Yeah.
The shift is slow. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to, sit here and tell you that, a lot of people are, jumping into that system changing kind of work. The system changing work, it's grueling.
Okay, so let me hold you right there. So when you're talking about, yes, the shift is slow, which of course in a country like Nigeria, I don't like to say Nigeria because I think Africa, we face very similar problems, and then you see that most young people are actually building something very innovative,
Right.
using bold ideas to solve problems and issues, of course, symptoms. But, we have a very difficult economic realities.
Right.
So what trends or shifts are you currently seeing in the social innovation ecosystem that actually gives you hope about the future of Africa, or of Nigeria? So let's use it in the broader scope of
Right.
Africa and then specifically in Nigeria.
Someone sang a song and the song, part of the lyrics goes something along the lines of, the more money we talk about, the more problems we see. The more Africa is developing business leaders, the more wicked problems are springing up that needs equally system-changing people to tackle. So what I have seen at a personal level, I'm not speaking for the organization I work for, but within the space, what I have seen, two things. One, that is more that gives me joy is that yes, there's an uptake of business leaders, youthful business founders. There's equally an uptake of civic sector leaders. That gives me joy.
Okay.
But I said two things. The second thing is this. There is also a sense in which, because of the way the civic space had been interpreted before now, a lot of young people who would have entered the space with a lot of ginger to solve the problem at the root cause, in their minds, they assume that if I jump into this space, I'm going to become like the regular NGO that goes around with cap in hand, begging funders for money. And so you see also a departure of people from the space, opting instead to lean into the business side of things. Because with business, you can see the model. You have a product, you put it out there, somebody likes the product, they pay for the product. It's transactional. But with the work in the civic space, it's not that transactional. Yes, there is fulfillment, yes. There is also financial benefit that comes from it, but you don't put that as a raison d'etre, the reason for which you enter into it. And so a lot of people are afraid of what the system, of what the future holds if they move along that pattern. So there's also that, sort of withdrawal and opting instead to go into
Okay,
business.
so let me use this opportunity to ask your thoughts on this. Do you think that impact can actually exist without sustainability?
Impact in and of itself is like the slab of a building, a suspended slab. Without pillars, it cannot stand. Sustainability is the pillar that holds impact.
Actually,
Impact cannot stand except there is sustainability. The sustainability that impact requires is funding. Somebody must write the check. The bag must be protected for impact to be sustained. That's the nature of, as long as we're on God's green earth, that's how things will continue to be.
So can you share some of the qualities that you consistently see among successful change makers?
One is an audacious spirit.
Audacious. I like that word.
You have to be audacious. I've seen it. They are audacious people.
Okay.
The audacity to say, because you're going against the grains. Your parents invested in you. They require a return on their investments. Let's say you're perhaps a lawyer. You've gone to law school. And then you say you want to do NGO work. The parents know how much they spent in a top-tier Nigerian university, putting you through law school at the end of the day. And then the NGO work with all the uncertainties of it. And so going into it, you're most likely going against the grains of expectations from people who are close to you, people who love you. And so audacity is number one. Number two, resilience. Resilience will keep you going. Resilience ties in with your why. The why must be strong enough. And it's usually strong enough to keep them going. So they hold that why firmly. And they tie themselves around the why. And they keep going, even when there is no fund. I have a fellow somewhere in southwest Nigeria, made a significant invest of a decent chunk of money, expanding her, work within that rural community. Next thing, sometime last year, towards the end of last year, herdsmen hit that community.
Oh my God.
And in one day, she lost more than all of the investment put in that place. Because some of the people, some of the farm hands lost their lives. And so, but this social entrepreneur is still in her work. She didn't tuck tail and run. In spite of all of that, she's still on ground in that community and she's still doing the work because she's tied in, she's rooted in, she's in too deep. She ain't going anywhere. So you see, audacity, resilience, the why has to be strong. These are some of the things on the surface. There's also the strategic alignment aspect of it because there must be levers. You must be able to, a social entrepreneur must find the levers within their space. Levers that if they can leverage those levers, their work will be carried to the next level.
Wow. Thank you very much. I love the way you analyze it, even with the example that you gave. Resilience is actually very important. Yes. Thank you. That's a very interesting point. Okay, so Mr. Ikenna, so one thing that often comes up in conversations and around development sector and social entrepreneurship sector is that internally imposed solutions rarely last, right? And Ashoka is known for what? Investing in people, not just projects, right? And so now, why is leadership development so critical to solving long-term social challenges, especially in communities with deep inequality or institutional gaps?
Let me take it from the from your point about externally imposed
solutions. Yeah.
solutions, right? The model prior to recent times has been about some system somewhere coming with a lot of aid to drop down
Some fun.
some trickles to some people in a part of the world. However, studies have shown that unless a solution is homegrown and has the DNA of the people for which the solution is crafted, that solution will not last the test of time. Here is an example. Aid would coming from the biggest aid organization. Aid came in a lot. But there was a noticing that the communities and the countries that were the primary recipients had a dangerous dependency on that aid.
Wow. Okay.
And because of that, they failed to develop the homegrown capacity needed to sustain themselves once the aid closes out. Look at retroviral drugs for HIV, people living with HIV. USAID was the biggest donor to that cause. USAID has ceased to exist. The medications prices have skyrocketed. A lot of people who used to get free allocations cannot get free allocations. And so they have to pay for it.
True.
And so it's now an expensive thing.
Actually.
But what would have happened if we had grown the capacity to sustain this, knowing that perhaps at some point the biggest funder would say, I don't want to fund anymore. Game theory lets you know that, you can either win or you can lose. If you keep winning, you have to prepare for the day that you record a loss. Even if you don't record a loss in your lifetime, have that strategic contingency plan. And so we are seeing that internal homegrown solutions are a lot better than something coming from outside.
Okay, to take it from what you said, community development often don't last when solutions are imposed from the top.
Right.
So now, what have you learned about the power of local leadership, listening, and community ownership in creating lasting solution and sustainable solution?
What I have learned is that the people know what the people want.
Okay.
If you sideline the people, it can work in business, right? Henry Ford once said that if he had asked people what they wanted in terms of mobility acceleration, the people would have said faster horses. But he didn't go about saying, what do you want? Faster carriages or faster horses? He just went about and conceived the idea of, Ford Motor Company and the rest of them. But that's for business. In the social space, the people must be carried along. If you want to see sustained impact, if you want the solution to outlast the system that is generating the problem, you must carry the people along. You can't do without it. I'm telling you. If we had developed, by we I mean Africa as a whole. I remember when the largest donor, USAID, ceased donating. A lot of African countries, the health ministries of a lot of African countries took a big hit.
Exactly.
If we had developed a system to say, yes, this resource is coming, it will always come. However, the day it doesn't come, this is our contingent.
Exactly.
It wouldn't have hit us as a continent as badly as it did.
Actually.
So that lets you know that external support is good. We can't isolate. We're not playing a game of isolationism. but internal homegrown capacity is more important.
Wow, thank you very much for sharing that. So we're also seeing that there's a shift from individual leadership towards ecosystem and network-driven leadership, right? And Ashoka has been around for some time and envisions a world which everyone is a change maker. And of course, they place strong emphasis on ecosystem and networks. So why is network leadership becoming more important than individual leadership in today's Africa?
Well, so this is why network leadership is is more strategic. As an organization, we believe, or Ashoka believes, in a world where everyone, everywhere, has the agency and the capacity to bring change to their specific communities or to wherever they are. The reasoning is this, and to your question of networked leadership, if you have light, and I have light, and everybody in the room has light, we can light up this room better than if only you had one light and we had to rely on that light. To have sustained impact, networked leadership, or building a network of leaders, we cannot underemphasize it and we cannot push it to the side. The reason is this: the world where everyone is a change maker cascades down all the way through to when children begin to have the stirrings of individuality, of personhood. So when a young person comes to the age where they can own their decisions, if you can get them to have the agency and the knowing that if there's something in this space that is not to the general benefit of all, I have the agency and the capacity to bring a change in that space. If you can do that, it means that that young person in primary school will be able to network among his or her peers. Everybody in that primary school class will understand that we are not bystanders. We are, primary responsibility holders for the peace that we want to see and for the progress that we want to see. And so if we can get young children at that age to start thinking like that, we will have fewer problems, fewer societal problems, because problems, they start in infancy. Most problems don't come as they are fully formed. They start as little things that snowball over time. So the idea is get everyone everywhere to embrace this ideology. Get everyone everywhere to understand that they have the agency to cause change to happen. Do that over a sustained period of time. You would have saved not just the present generation, but future generations.
Wow, thank
That's
you
the
very
importance
much.
of network leadership. It's no longer one person having it. It's now all of us. Everyone a change maker.
Okay, so for social entrepreneurs, you're expected to do good, right?
Right.
Because when you're contributing or making your community, you're doing good in your community, you're trying to make the place a better place for both yourself and people around. You're expected to do good, obviously. But then you're also, as social entrepreneurs, you're also expected to remain sustainable, right? So how can impact leaders actually balance the mission of sustainability and growth and without losing the soul of their work?
This is a powerful question. And the reason I say this is that every social leader, every civic leader must, in and of themselves, develop the tenets of entrepreneurship, right? They must have a heightened sense of entrepreneurial ability. The reason is this: the entrepreneurial ability is the gumption. The Brits say it's the oomph. It's what will get you to bootstrap. It's what will make you say, I'm not going to run this thing down. That ability is the single ingredient that will help you find a balance between I'm doing good, I need to be sustainable. One should not overrun the other.
Actually.
Because trust me, without sustainability, which is resources, financial at best, because if you drill it down, it's financial. Without that, a social entrepreneur is going to live a life of frustration. Yes, it is frustrating because to a large extent, it's a thankless job.
Actually.
And so if the social entrepreneur does not want to get to a point where they tell themselves, now who even send me markets? You must find a way to, remember I talked about the levers that hold a system. You must find a way to leverage those levers so that you don't compromise the good that you are doing. You continue the good while remaining financially sustainable, because that is what will keep the job going. That's what will keep the work going. So that single trait of entrepreneurial ability is very important. That's what will make you write as much proposals as you can. You're constantly on the lookout for the next logical step. You're constantly looking for the low-hanging fruits. Constantly looking to jump on the next available grant train, because the work must continue. And you don't want to leave it and say, I'm going into something different. So that trait is important to have.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing. Thank you. So let's talk about your work with Ashoka. I know that, of course, you've engaged with, like you said, over 30 fellows, right? And then change makers across different sectors and countries. And I know that there are always some struggles and challenges that the social innovators actually face. So can you share some common leadership struggles that these social entrepreneurs or innovators actually face, and then they don't talk about it more often?
One key recurring thing, and I'll tell you without charging you money, is finding the right people.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Finding the right people to have within the organization.
I agree.
That's the key thing.
I agree. Totally.
Because it takes a certain mentality to work in a startup civic sector organization.
Yeah.
You must have the people who must work there, or the people who will last there, must have a strong connection to the why of that vision. 2, they must have a heightened sense of deferred gratification. These two things. people who connect with the why, people who are willing to defer gratification. That's the bane of many social
struggle.
entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs who are leading organizations. Second thing, funding is not even part of the first three.
Wow.
Second thing is transition.
Okay.
The idea that who will I give this thing over to? And they will run it with the same
energy,
passion and energy that I have carried this.
Yeah. Oh
because when you
true.
found an organization, the organization becomes like a child. It's an offshoot of you. It came out from you. And so there's that quandary between, do I retire now or just leave the organization and believe that the organization will do well without me? If the social entrepreneur can surmount these two things, get the right people. The book Good to Great by Tom Peters said if you are a bus driver, first thing to do is to first get the wrong people off the bus, get the right people on the bus, and then move on. Destination is ahead. In that bus that you're driving, if you can get the right people in there, and if you can get to a point where you can, walk away and leave it in better hands, trust me, you are good. So that's the thing that I've seen in this place.
So let me ask this question. I know that a lot of social entrepreneurs face the difficulty in actually getting the right people.
Right.
So how do you think they can actually source or identify the right people?
Either of two ways. One, you can get people who have the minimum requirements that you're looking for. They don't have everything, but if they have 50% and you believe they are teachable, nobody is born taught.
Actually,
people must be taught. People learn. If they are willing to learn, then you can teach them the tenets and commit to them. If you can impact to them the why, and they can internalize it and operationalize it at a personal level, then you're good to go.
Well, that's a very short, direct response. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Okay, so let's talk about how organizations actually compete rather than collaborate. In many African communities, which I know that you have experienced, collaboration can be very, very difficult, especially in Africa.
Yeah.
Because, organizations compete for visibility and funding.
Right.
So how do you think how do we build stronger ecosystems where change makers can actually collaborate rather than operate in silos?
Well, as long as, economics talks about the competition for scarce resources, as long as the demand for the resources outweigh the availability of the resources, it is, to a large extent, we will keep seeing competition more over collaboration. But here is how to turn things around. First of all, the resources, let's agree that the resources will be scarce. As long as we're on this green earth, resources will be scarce. However, if we all agree that the problem is important enough for us to put our heads together to solve, then it doesn't matter who gets the funding. There's a Ghanaian proverb that is depicted by a gold effigy of a crocodile with two heads, single belly, two tails. The concept and idea is this: it doesn't matter which head eats the food. It goes into the same belly.
That's
and it sustains this
body.
entity, the body.
Actually.
So if we can get the people, if we can get organizations to say, it is to our best interest as a people for us to completely decimate the concept of out of school children, for instance, then it doesn't matter whether it's
your own organization
or mine that gets the funding.
Actually.
If you get the funding, you cut me in. You call me, we'll come together. My organization will come together. Together, we are stronger.
Actually.
You get the funds, it's okay. And many funders are, interestingly, they are adopting that principle in what is called fiscal partnership. So if my organization is nascent and just beginning, but I get a fund from a big organization, the organization might say, make Impact Hub Abuja your fiscal sponsor. So the funding will come to Impact Hub Abuja for me. Impact Hub gets a portion. The money is my organization's money, for instance. And so my fiscal sponsor is responsible for monitoring my usage of that. That's a way of forcing people to collaborate.
Actually.
Yes, that's a brilliant way of forcing people to collaborate, because once money is involved, people must collaborate.
So would you say that collaboration is solely dependent on the donors?
Now, it's not supposed to be like that, right? But what I have seen, and I'm being very careful, what I have seen is that collaboration is easier when there's fund that compels us to collaborate.
Actually,
it's easier.
Actually.
Or when there's something that is mutually beneficial. Let me use the word mutually beneficial to both our interests.
Actually. Wow, that's a very interesting point. I love the idea of mutually beneficial, and then collaboration becomes really, really easy. Thank you. So you've spoken about your work.
Right.
You've also talked about the challenges that you've experienced with social innovators. So let's talk about you now.
Right.
So reflecting on your own leadership journey, I know it can be really difficult working with people. So what has been the most difficult lesson about building people, managing purpose, and actually sustaining impact over time? It could be 1, 2, or 3. We can learn from that.
The most difficult, in my experience, right, is, so I have never been someone who lacked the passion.
Okay.
And this question has nothing to do with the work I currently do. I'm looking at my journey.
Okay.
Never been one who lacked the passion, never been one who lacked the brilliant ideas necessary to advance my work or my purpose. The most significant problem that I faced coming up was funding.
Okay.
I realized along the path of my journey that without money, one is as useless as their idea. That was my realization, because I had a lot of things that I wanted to do, but I did not know how to articulate them well enough to get funding for them. I'm an ideas generator. I was, still am. But I realized that without resources, it was difficult for me to fully advance what I was doing. And so I was stuck in a quandary. Do I operationalize this along the path of fee for service, or just continue this
for impact
model? And so that was where I was stuck. However, what then began to happen what happened was that I stuck to the for-profit because I couldn't bring myself to get young people to pay for anything I was doing because
Actually,
it
it's
was just
really
unconscionable for me at
exactly,
that time.
exactly, yeah.
But there were certain rewards, like the Mandela Washington Fellowship was a reward.
Yeah,
The Atlas
true.
Scott Fellowship was a reward. There were just things that happened along my path that ultimately brought me to where I am currently. So, but personally, I would say it's a resource, not the idea, not the mobilization of people who believe in the work. It's easy. If you're a young person and you advance a solution in that civic space, other young people will rally around you. But a point will come when to get from here to there, you must realize that what got you here will not take you there.
So what was the
Next thing.
biggest lesson?
Biggest lesson
Yes.
was as much as quickly as possible, find a funding source. Passion will take you only as far as passion can take you. But if you can find a way to fund what passion is driving you to do, it gets easier. That's the biggest lesson that I learned.
So would you say that as a social entrepreneur, it's always important to have a social enterprise that actually drives your work or your passion, so that you don't fizzle out when you don't get funding? Would you agree to that
I would
ideology?
I would I would advise that anybody who wants to last long in the space must find a strategic way to bring in revenue beyond grants and donations.
Totally.
That's my
Totally.
candid advice.
Totally.
Nobody envisaged the pulling out of USAID
Actually.
and the $40 billion annual budget that they had.
Actually.
Most organizations folded up projects. A number of organizations who relied 100% on that consistent funding source,
Badly
they packed
impacted.
up.
Actually.
But if they had a way of, like fee for service something, or an LLC by the side, or a limited liability company in our client, or best register as a limited by guarantee, something that permits you to, have a
Income
sustainability strategy. It's a lot easier.
Okay, so let me say this, or does it mean that when you had initially started and you didn't, of course, you had mentioned your ideas, you didn't know if you had a mentor that guided you through that path, would it have been easier for you to, navigate through the social impact journey?
Yeah, sure. If I had a mentor and the mentor knew what I now know, the mentor would have been able to help me.
Actually.
When I was doing teenage development work, I had a mentorship component to the project I was doing then, Best You Better X. The mentorship component, I tagged it available mentorship. You can have a mentor that is unavailable. It will be as good as not having a mentor.
So it simply means that the idea of having organization build their systems or their mission on basically mentoring young people is a very good idea.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Young people need mentorship and mentorship that is available on demand. If you cannot be an available mentor to a young person, please do not mentor them. If availability is difficult for you to muster, you don't have to go into that space, because young people will require hand-holding.
So let's get your advice for a young person today. So if you're going to advise a young African founder today who wants to build something, or a social enterprise, or venture through the journey of social entrepreneurship, and then that truly transforms community, what are the top 3 principles that you would tell them never to compromise on? Top 3 principles.
1, integrity.
Integrity, I like that.
Don't compromise on that.
Okay.
Don't compromise on integrity. Don't cut corners. It will.
It would backfire.
Shortcuts will cut you short. It's as simple as that.
Shortcut will cut you short. I like that.
Integrity is one thing that you must not play with. 2, after integrity, the second would be audacity.
Audacity. Yeah, I think you mentioned something like audacious at the initial stage here.
And 3, resilience.
Resilience.
Integrity, audacity, and resilience. Integrity will keep you clean. Audacity will give you the gumption to walk through doors. Resilience will keep you rooted, even when the winds that come blow and they are strong enough to blow other people away. You're resiliently planted there. You're not moving.
Wow.
These 3 things are critical.
Wow, thank you. Very direct, short. Integrity, audacity, and resilience. Very, very short. Thank you so much. Now, how do you think, I know we've talked about collaborations earlier, but I want to know, how do you think collaborations, or how important are collaborations between government institutions, social entrepreneurs, civil society, and social impact leaders in actually creating a sustainable system that can change systems? And then what kind of leadership and ecosystem collaboration would be necessary to build a more inclusive and sustainable West Africa?
First of all, collaboration is the ingredient that will get us as a people, as an organization, as institutions, as a geographical region, as a government. That's what will get us further, quicker. That's what collaboration does. That which every joint supplies. What do you know? I don't know. So I collaborate with you. You bring to the table what I don't have. And I bring to the table what you don't have. To move us quicker. As against being clannish. Because you can only know so much.
Actually.
No matter how much you think you know, there's always a lot more that you do not know. And so if you can create what I read in a book called a mastermind, if you can create a mastermind, which is essentially a coalition of collaborators,
sectors,
you will go, the organization, the individual, the institution will go further faster. Secondly, what kind of collaborations are required?
What kind of leadership?
What kind of leadership systems
are required?
Well, a leadership that is people-oriented. What that means is that the leadership must put the people front and center of policies.
Okay.
A leadership that does not put the people front and center of policies will not create an enabling environment for collaboration to happen, because the people are not important to that leadership. People must be important for you to create that enabling environment, and then the people can collaborate.
Wow. Okay, thank you very much. And then finally, when you think about the future of Africa, right, over the next decade, what role do you believe that social entrepreneurs can actually play to community-driven and community-driven leaders? What role do you think they can play in shaping a more inclusive, equitable, and a hopeful society?
The same role that businesses play is the same role that social entrepreneurs must play in the advancement of the continent. This is why I say it. For a society to advance and hopefully leapfrog, that society must have businesses enabled by government policies to thrive. When businesses are enabled to thrive, and the ease of business is good and people friendly, the economy will be robust, the economy will bubble. The bubbling of the economy means that a lot more people will have jobs. Businesses will make money. When businesses make money, they commit a chunk of their revenue and profit towards the civic sector space. Once the space, the social space, knows that there is a pipeline, you see how this thing is connected. Once they know that there's a pipeline of funding from the business space, they will go deeper into solving wicked problems that affect everybody.
Everyone, actually.
So the government will have less, for instance, recidivism. Let's take crime, the surge of crime, for instance. If there are organizations like Hope Behind Bars that tackle the high rate of recidivism, which is the return to crime of formerly incarcerated inmates, if they have enough funding to do that job, coming from business part, the business has an enabling environment supported by the government. The government will have less restive citizens that they need to put in jail.
Actually.
So you see how the
dots connect.
Yes, it all connects.
Actually.
It all connects.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Ikenna, for taking us through your journey, sharing your experience. And it's been a very thoughtful and inspiring conversation. Thank you very much for joining us once again.
Thank you very much, Benita. I appreciate you. And thanks for having me.
Thank you. And with that, we have come to the end of this conversation. And yes, to our audience, thank you to everyone that stayed with us to the very end of this conversation on the Impact Doc. We hope that this conversation actually challenges you to think differently about leadership, community, and the role each of us play in building a better society. Until the next time, keep leading, keep creating impact, and keep making a change in your community. Please don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel. Share this with your friends, with your family, anybody that you feel would need to learn from this information. And don't forget to follow us, like, share, and comment. Until the next episode, see you then. Bye.